Are you looking for some actually good horror movies to binge this Halloween? Well, look no further. I've put together my top 5 picks for the season. These are movies that I've seen a bunch of times, and honestly, I'll probably rewatch them again this year. These are some real gems that are just perfect for that cozy night in. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Sleepless. I mostly cover creepy stuff and pretty much anything that keeps me up at night. So sit back, grab your popcorn, and let's dive into the 5 horror movies that you have to check out this Halloween. Alright, coming in hot at number 5, we have The Autopsy of Jane Doe. So at first glance, this sounds like a crime drama, maybe some kind of gory morgue thriller, but this is not your typical autopsy. This movie's an absolute masterclass in atmosphere. Almost the entire film takes place in just one film location, a small, creaky basement morgue, and yet it never really gets boring. The lighting, the camera movement, the ambience, use of silence, everything just builds this suffocating sense of dread. The film stars Brian Cox and Emile Hirsch, who play a father-son team of coroners, which immediately gives you this sense of connection between the characters. And the deeper we get into the autopsy, the stranger and more supernatural things start to become. But it's done in this kind of eerie, slow-paced kind of way that really makes you feel like you're trapped in the morgue with them. In terms of the directing style, we have André Øvredal, who really leaned in with this less is more type of approach, and it totally works. So if you're a fan of this moody, slow burn, intelligent horror that kind of builds with mystery, then you have to check out The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Right, next up we have The Descent. This is a bit of an older film, but it really had a huge impact on me growing up because it's got this really dark, suffocating, isolated feeling that really makes a horror film good. Now I must say, if you're even a little bit claustrophobic, then this film is gonna really get under your skin. It starts off with about these friends who go off to explore a cave. But what starts out as a simple adventure will quickly turn into a fight for survival, because both of them become plunged into darkness within this mysterious cave, and they don't realize that maybe they're not alone. What I really like about this film is the way that it uses its pacing. It doesn't just drop you right into it, it kind of builds over time, and the environment itself is the real horror. So again, with that less is more type of approach, it lets your mind kind of run wild with it. And let's talk about the cinematography. It's tight, suffocating, and practically feels like the walls are caving in. Then just when you think it can't get worse, it starts introducing another element, which I won't spoil here, but trust me, it's really good. Now the interesting thing about this film as well is the themes. So if you're a big film buff and you like to really read into things when it comes to movies, there's a bit of a wild twist with this one. You can watch it as a straight-up monster/isolation type of film, but there's also metaphors that are deeply psychological. It explores themes of grief, guilt, and also a little bit of a rebirth type of angle, with characters overcoming their challenges. And all of that is layered in with this grimy, claustrophobic, in-the-darkness type of atmosphere. So it really ladders up nicely into a great film. So yeah, check this one out, it's definitely one of my favorites. So before I move on to the top 3 picks, I just want to say if you're enjoying the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you like this type of thing. I absolutely love horror, and especially films, so it always excites me when I get to talk about horror movies, especially at this time of the year. Okay, let's move on to the top 3. These ones are really good. Number 3 is A Quiet Place. Now this one hit really different when it came out, and it still holds up today. John Krasinski, yep, Jim from The Office, created something really bold here. This idea of building a horror movie completely around the theme of silence. I mean, yeah, it might have been a risky move, but I think at the time, most of the movies were very out there and jump scary, kind of like very Hollywood and in-your-face type of horror. But this one takes a very different approach. It uses subtlety and assumed danger. The film uses sound, or the absence of sound. Every creak, every whisper, or every crunch of a leaf makes you flinch, because you know that it could mean the end for the characters. So we've got Emily Blunt, who gives one of the best performances in modern horror that we've seen in a long time. I mean, geez, the bathtub scene alone is a masterclass of tension. But what really sells this movie is just how emotional it is. I mean, yeah, it is a survival story, but it's also rooted deeply in family values. It's about love, connection, and sacrifice. And that really creates this sort of extra layer that deeply connects you to the characters. And I find that quite rare in horror movies because a lot of the time the characters in these types of movies are very flat and you can't really emotionally connect to them. This movie completely flips that around and really leans into it, and it totally works. And yeah, let's talk about the cinematics. This movie is absolutely stunning. There are some really beautiful shots and perspectives. Everything feels very intentional, very real, and it's not just scary, but it's also really beautifully made to watch as a film. So yeah, I will definitely be watching Quiet Place again this Halloween. Maybe the second one and the third one as well, but definitely the first one. Right, let's see if it gets the wife stamp of approval.
I think A Quiet Place is one of the best horror movies ever made, to be honest. Like, especially a modern horror movie. Because we're used to getting really cheesy, repetitive, very samey movies every year. So whatever comes out has pretty much the same concept, whereas A Quiet Place is very unique. And it's just really genuinely good. It's well made, it's got really good acting, really good characters. Yeah, it's got Jim from The Office, which is awesome. And it's to some extent, obviously like not fully, but quite relatable. I think that's something that I always appreciate about movies, is that how relatable are they? Could it happen in real life? And I feel like that you could transport yourself into that picture, I guess. That's what you want to achieve when you watch a movie. I think the family dynamic is what makes it even creepier, because it involves children, and then you get like different emotions that come from that, because as a parent you don't want your child to be at risk of anything. So, you know, there's a fear of like something possibly attacking you and your family, or, you know, it's just really scary. Yeah, I think both part 1 and part 2 were really, really good. Definitely worth watching.
Okay, so the next film, this one's a very deep psychological horror and a personal favorite of mine. This one's called Jacob's Ladder. The movie is deeply haunting and disturbing, but not in like a jump scare or monster kind of way. More in like an atmospheric tension and just questioning what's even real around you type of way. It follows Jacob, a Vietnam vet who starts seeing these distorted visions and these shadow figures, and the whole world around him seems to keep warping, blending, changing. Almost like the lines between nightmare and reality become blurred, and he doesn't know what's real anymore. And fun fact, this movie is actually one of the main inspirations behind the franchise Silent Hill. So if you're a fan of Silent Hill, and I know I am, then Jacob's Ladder will feel very familiar. So what makes Jacob's Ladder so special is that it's quite emotional at its core. It's a deeply disturbing story about trauma, grief, and how to process things and let go. It stars Tim Robbins, who's one of the most iconic actors of all time. I mean, his performance in Shawshank Redemption, it needs no words. So you know immediately it's going to be a really good movie. It's directed by Adrian Lyne, and it has this kind of gritty, yet visually poetic type of style to it. And if you combine that with the frantic editing, vibrating, blurry faces, you can really feel the descent into madness. And I really feel like this type of dreamlike horror is something that we don't see too often. I mean, we saw it in films like Shutter Island and Session 9 and films like that, but it's not really done this masterfully, in my opinion. And another fun fact about this movie is that the little boy from Home Alone, Macaulay Culkin, he actually acted in this movie as well, so look out for him. So yeah, I would say this one is definitely a little on the heavier side because it really messes with your head. So it's definitely not a light watch, let's put it that way, but it is so good. I think I probably like this one more than the wife does, but let's get her opinion as well.
I mean, I know you really loved that movie, and I've heard really good things about it, but I think I slept through the whole thing. Sorry.
Right, so I guess you're wondering, which film is number one? Which one is gonna take the top position of the film I most want to watch this Halloween? The number one spot is actually a pretty new franchise relative to the others, and it's actually a tie because there's more than one of this movie. My number one pick this Halloween is Terrifier, and it's a tie between Terrifier 1 and Terrifier 2. So if you're not familiar with this movie, you better get familiar quickly. It's kind of a different sort of film in that it doesn't really explain clearly what's going on, so it's kind of like artistic in that way. Very early in the film, we're quickly introduced to Art the Clown, and that's all you need to know. The film doesn't give any clear explanation as to why things are happening. There's a little bit of a plot, but it's very loose at best. Most of the film is actually more centered around fear and the experience of fear itself. The films are not supposed to be subtle. It's a gory slasher grindhouse horror. It's full on, it's visceral, it's disgusting. And yet it's become some kind of a cult masterpiece. Director Damien Leone somehow takes this micro-budget little horror film and turns it into something that feels huge. The practical special effects are next level. It really reminds me of those old 80s and 90s horrors where they used real props and synthetics, before all this perfectly polished CGI crap that we see in movies today. So it really comes across raw, shocking, and realistic. And honestly, it's pretty impressive for the budget. But you know, hands down, the thing that sells it the very most is the performance by David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown. He is the perfect silent killer. Basically this classical mime type of character with exaggerated movements and expressions, and he's really silly, but at the same time, he's super deadly. It feels very theatrical, but at the same time, it's so unsettling and horrific. And I don't know how he does it, but he somehow makes you laugh, but then also recoil at the same time. Think kind of like a Freddy Krueger type of character, where the guy is absolutely nuts and disgusting, but yet you kind of have to love him in a weird way. It's so bizarre and it really messes with your head. Alright, let's get a second opinion about this one. What did you think of this movie?
I think we discovered it quite randomly. I don't really like slasher films, but I thought, this one had really good reviews, so we thought, let's just give it a try. And I'm so glad we did, because from minute one, literally, it just transports you into this world of just chaos. And it's amazing. It's honestly one of my favorite movies of all time, because it's just so well made, and I think it's cheesy to some extent, but it's not unrealistic like other slasher movies, which are very try-hardy. This one doesn't try hard, but achieves a lot. And I feel like that's what makes it so good. Art the Clown is very lovable. It's he's just amazing. I don't know. He's got his personality. He's funny. I don't know, he just doesn't give a shit. He's almost like a cartoon character. A cartoon in real life, which is awesome. Yeah, he's almost like a paradox character almost. He's very cartoonish, very childlike, but then he commits really horrendous murders, which, just baffles me. I love it. They've achieved so much with a really, really tiny budget, so I feel like it doesn't really matter. I think the movie is extremely realistic in terms of their prosthetics they've used. All the blood and all the gore and everything is just really real. And you can really feel the pain of the characters, and it's awesome. It's really well made. I feel like the writers made the victims particularly hateable, so then you kind of relate to Art a bit more, and you want him to murder the victims, which is really weird because obviously that's not how we think, and we shouldn't be on the murderer's side, but we are in this case, which is really strange. It messes with your head. This is gonna be on my Halloween watch list forever, all three movies, but I feel like Terrifier 1 and Terrifier 2 are more Halloween-y, whereas Terrifier 3 I'll leave for Christmas.
So yeah, that film is absolute gold, and if you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. There's a second movie as well, which then expands the whole universe of the characters and sort of continues this surreal dream sequence type of thing. But yeah, it's absolutely unhinged, it's super ambitious, and yeah, just totally unforgettable. And if you're a fan of those like 80s horror films where they used real practical special effects, then Terrifier is right up your alley, and really does take first place as my Halloween top pick this year. Oh, and there is a third Terrifier movie as well, but that one I think you should save for Christmas. Just go check it out, you'll see why. Right, so there you have it. Those are my top 5 must-watch horror movies this Halloween. I know there are plenty of other films as well that I didn't really cover in this video, so I'll just list out a couple of the honorable mentions. So of course you've got The Shining, Blair Witch Project, The Exorcist, The Ring, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Pet Sematary, The Conjuring, there's Poltergeist, Phantasm is really good. We've got Hereditary that came out, that's really good. The Nightmare on Elm Street movies, there's the Friday the 13th movies, and of course the Halloween movies. The reason I didn't include these is just they'd be a little bit too obvious and probably on everybody's list, to be honest, so I wanted to just bring a little bit of something that I like and I'm going to watch again. And while I was coming up with movies to watch this Halloween, there's also one that I haven't seen, and it's called Lake Mungo. So if you've seen this movie, please do let me know in the comments if it's any good. I think I'm going to check it out this Halloween. Right, so that's all I have for today. So thank you for watching, and if you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, and yeah, I'd really appreciate your help to get there if you like this type of thing. I'll be releasing a longer form documentary style video that I've been working on for a while. That one's coming out in probably another week or two. So yeah, thanks for stopping by, and hope you enjoy Halloween. So until next time, good night.